B'siyata Shmai, we're going to do Birchas HaTorah today, a very, very important bracha that we start the day with, Birchas HaTorah. And in fact, if you look at it, it's interesting that we have two separate brachas. We've got the bracha Sheket Deshanu B'mitzvos V'Tzivonu Lasoik B'divrei Torah, and then we continue with V'harivno. And then you got the bracha Baruch Hashem Lekem Nachon Hashem Bocha Bonim Mikol Ha'amim V'Nosan Lanu Esterosoi. Baruch Hashem Noisen HaTorah continues with Vayedaben Elu Dvarim V'Cholei. So we have to understand that, first of all, the Shulchan Aruch in Simon Mem Zayin writes how a person has to be extremely careful when it comes with the bracha or Birchas HaTorah. We all are familiar with the Chazal, the Gemara Nedarim, where the Gemara tells us that, interestingly enough, that when Eretz Yisrael was destroyed, Yerushalayim, the Beis Hamikdash v'Choli was destroyed, it actually says the Gemara became a big surprise to Klal Yisrael. And they were surprised because Klal Yisrael were learning Torah. They were learning Torah, they were doing all they were supposedly meant to be doing, and yet the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and Yerushalayim was destroyed, and the Gemara tells us that Klal Yisrael were actually very, very surprised with that. And the Gemara says they didn't understand why, until eventually the Gemara says the simple reason is Shalai Baruch Hu B'Torah Tchila, which means they did not do Birchas HaTorah before learning Torah, which is obviously very interesting, because they were learning Torah. It doesn't say they were not learning. Of course they were learning Torah, but they did not make the bracha of Birchas HaTorah before learning. Why, asks the Ran, Lemaisa, is it such a problem? So the Ran quotes Rabbeinu Yoina, and he explains that for such a small thing of not making Birchas HaTorah, Yerushalayim was destroyed. What does that mean? So Rabbeinu Yoina, again quoted in the Ran over here in Nedarim, explains that they were learning Torah, but they didn't understand the uniqueness of Torah because they were looking at it as another subject to learn. It was just something that they learned for the sake of learning, but they didn't actually understand the uniqueness and the present and the gift that they had got from the Rabbeinu Shalom. They didn't have the chashivas of Torah. And therefore, when you don't have the chashivas of Torah, you don't make Birchas of Torah. I don't need to become bracha first. I just learn Torah. It's like a nice subject, like math or like anything else I learn. But once you make a bracha on it, then you realize I'm doing it because Sheket Deshanu B'mitzvos V'Tzivonu, because the Rabbeinu Shalom told us to do that. And therefore, by making Birchas of Torah every morning, we are directly showing our gratitude to the Rabbeinu Shalom by allowing us to learn his Torah and have given us the Torah, which is also amazing. There's an amazing Matei Moshe. The Matei Moshe brings down that when a person says Birchas HaTorah b'kavana, he gains tremendous chokhmah. He becomes cleverer. He gains wisdom. As I state the Matei Moshe, it's a scholar for a person to gain more wisdom by making more kavana on Birchas HaTorah. The Mishnah Berurah also says as well that if you make Birchas HaTorah correctly, with the right kavanah, with the right intentions, you will have children, Talmidei Chachamim, as I state in the Mishnah Berurah. Now, there's an interesting thing I want to mention. There's an Eliyah Rabbah. The Eliyah Rabbah explains, and we'll try to go through the bracha in a moment, but he explains the idea of that we make the bracha, the first bracha Birchas HaTorah is V'tzivonu Lasoik B'divrei Torah. Why do we make Lasoik B'divrei Torah as opposed to Lilmoid Torah? I don't understand. Sheket Deshanu B'mitzvos V'Tzivonu Rabbeinu Shalom. You commanded us Lilmoid Torah. What's Lasoik B'divrei Torah? So he explains very simply that the reward that the Rabbeinu Shalom wants to give us for learning Torah is not just the learning of the Torah. It's not a subject like every other subject, Rahman Litzlan. It's totally different, right? The Havdil El Ravdolis, it's nothing like any other subject in the world. We're not over here told just to learn the subject. We're here told to be oisik, Lasoik B'divrei Torah. To be oisik, to be engrossed, to be involved in Torah. That's what it's all about. And that's why by Torah there's no result that we're looking for. We're not looking for finishing. We're not looking to specifically know a specific item, even though Avada, we're here to know Kol HaTorah Kulam. We'll try as much as we possibly can. But it's not the result. We're not getting, so to speak, quote unquote, paid for the result. We're getting the schar lasoik b'divrei Torah. Just to be oisik, to be busy, to be engrossed, to be involved in Torah. That's what's going on. And that's why the Eliyah Rabbah says that right after we make lasoik b'divrei Torah, we immediately say that the Rabbeinu Shalom v'harevna Hashem Elokeinu. Make it sweet. That's what we want. Why? Because we want to become fluent in it. Anything that we enjoy, anything that's geschmack to us, we could do for hours and hours, and we know it well, and we understand it, and we retain the memory, and v'chole, right? So that's what we're saying. It says that Eliyah Rabbah was saying, no, we want it to be sweet, because we want to be oisik in it the whole time. We want to be busy with it the whole time. So, just to go through the bracha, and then we'll mention one important nakuda over here. So, Asher Kedeshon Mitzvah V'Tzavon Lasib B'Divrei Torah means to be involved in Divrei Torah. V'Harav No Hashem Elokeinu is Divrei Saroscha B'Finu. You should, Rabban Shalom, we beg, we ask of you, please sweeten it in our mouths, U'B'Fias Amcha Beis Yisrael, and also all of Klal Yisrael in their mouths also. V'Niyah Nachnu V'Tzetzeinu V'Tzetzeh Amcha Beis Yisrael. It should be us and all of our future as well, future offspring. By the way, we're davening for our children. All of us want our children to be involved in Torah. This is the chance, right? And you could do this many, many years before you have children and while you have children and for all the time. You daven that us and all of our children should be involved. Amcha basis or kulanu yodi shemecha, we know your name, and you should learn Torah lishma. Lishma again means for the sake of learning Torah because the Rebbeinu Shalom told us to learn Torah. Like the Hagdama writes in the Eglei Tal, Sogatchova says that lishma doesn't mean necessarily that you have no enjoyment. Faket, when you have enjoyment, that's also called lishma. Baruch HaTorah Hashem, Hamalamed Torah La'am Yisrael, who teaches Torah to Klal Yisrael. We have to realize the Rebbeinu Shalom teaches us the Torah. Rabbi Shimshon Pinkus famously says that when you sell someone a car, you sell them the car and that's it. You don't come with the car as a driver, right? Because you're selling them the car and they understand that. When the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us a matana, the present of the Torah, he gave us himself as well. He's constantly teaching us. He's constantly giving us the siyata d'shmaya to understand the Torah. Without that, we wouldn't understand anything. We move on to the next bracha. Asher bracha bonu b'kol ha'amim. Right, the Rebbeinu Shalom chose us from all the nations. This is something very important. V'nosan lanu es Torah, and he gave us his Torah. Baruch Hashem noisen HaTorah. Then we move on Vayidaber and Eilu Dvarim. So there is an interesting idea that's important to understand. The Torah writes over here that in this bracha we're thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for choosing us from all the other nations. Why? To be witness for Maimed Har Sinai, when the Rebbeinu Shalom gave the Torah at Har Sinai. Says the Bach, why is the Torah saying this? What's it got to do with giving the Torah at Har Sinai? We're thanking Hashem for giving us the Torah. What's Har Sinai? It doesn't mention Har Sinai over here. So says the Bach, explaining the words of the Torah, that these brachas seems to be that they're repetitive. Why are we making two brachas? By the way, which other mitzvah has two brachas? When you make a bracha on a mitzvah, you're making one bracha on the Tilas Lulav, or on Mikra Megillah, or on Achilas Matzah. Over here, we're making a bracha on two separate mitzvahs. That's one. Shachayanu is just something else, and that's for the nace. But that's for separate mitzvahs, Shamosh and Shalyad. But generally, on one mitzvah, there's one bracha. Very rare do we find this. The Bach asked this question, is explaining the Torah. And he says that these are very, very similar brachas. And he answers that we're thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for two unrelated things. First, we thank the Rebbeinu Shalom for commanding us to do the mitzvahs of the Torah, to learn the Torah, like everything else, and then we ask for Baharav not to make it sweet. And the second bracha is an appreciation for the greatest event in history, and that is Maimed Har Sinai. So in fact, I don't know how many people knew this, that when you make Birchas HaTorah in the morning, you're actually thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for giving us the Torah at Har Sinai, which we ourselves were witness to. I want to just end by mentioning one Gavaldige Yesod from, can't remember who said the Maisa, right? Who said the Yesod, but when we say Asher Bocha Bonu B'Kol Ha'amim, no. Eidos we do only by Vaychura, by Shabbos. Asher Bocha Bonu B'Kol Ha'amim V'nosan Lanu Torasai. Just a small idea that we have to appreciate the Rebbeinu Shalom, that he chose us from all the nations. That means every single one of us have to feel intrinsically special, that we were chosen specifically to learn the Torah, and he gave us his most precious present. The Chazal tell us, he opened up the oitza, the storehouses of all the greatest, everything was in there. And the Torah was there, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, hey, Klal Yisrael, you can have my Torah. It's a privilege to be able to learn the Torah, to be able to keep the Torah, to be able to do the mitzvahs. And with this bracha, we are intrinsically thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for making us special, for giving us the opportunity, and by allowing us to learn and even understand his Torah. That is Birchas Torah. The next, what we'll do, Be'ez Hashem, is we're going to go through one by one Birchas HaShachar.